Hello friends, this is Amy. Let's get crafting. This is the Be Brave calendar from Dollar Tree. I absolutely love this little pumpkin, and I'm using a circular piece from Dollar Tree, and that was out this summer. And I'm just going to draw around it and then cut it out, and then I'm going to Mod Podge down here. Just showing you, I sanded, tried to get that glitter off, and just going around with the pen, and then I'm just gonna trim that out with scissors. I put the Mod Podge on there, and then I put it on the back of the paper and put it on there and allowed it to dry completely. And then that's according to the directions, I believe. And then once it's dry, you can actually put a second coat of Mod Podge on there. And this is just using the Waverly wax. I also took the wax that was left on the brush from the welcome sign, that wooden sign, and I went around the whole edge and a little bit in the middle, just to, you know, give it a little bit of a I don't know, character or whatever. And then here I'm just putting in that second piece of, or the second application of the Mod Podge, allowed that to dry overnight. And I'm just going through some pretty flowers I picked up from Dollar Tree, and just I'm putting them together however I like them, and I'm going to tie it with some jute string. If you had some floral tape, that'd work fine. And then just hot glue that down. And then hold that in place. And then I found some pretty ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I just made 3 loops. I hot glued them together so they're in a circular form, and then just stack them. And I did put a 4th piece behind it so I could have the tails, and then again the jute string, trimmed it off, hot glued it down, and then fluffed up the loops. I did see that people are using, like when you're going to put that image down with the Mod Podge, that they put the Mod Podge down on the wood, they allow it to dry, they put the image down, and then they cover it up with like some parchment paper and heat iron it. So I will have to try that technique sometime and see. I have another technique I want to show you in the next DIY in this video, and it's using saran wrap, and it worked out really good. So there it is. It's just, I love how it turned out. It's just so pretty. I think the biggest thing I like about it is that pumpkin. It's just so detailed and 3-dimensional, and it's just pretty. Such a pretty little calendar. They've got some nice ones this year, so just thought I'd make something cute with it, and I do like it. So yeah, nice little autumn decor. On to the next DIY, number 2. Okay, this is also from Dollar Tree. It's like the I don't know, MDF. There's 3, you know, obviously quite thick, and this one says thankful. This is where I'm using that technique, and all I'm doing is I'm going to take some tissue or napkins, take off the 2 layers, because they're 3-ply. At least this is the one that I had. And this is a napkin that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. I love the print on it, and I just didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I liked it. Okay, now you're taking just plain old saran wrap. And when this is heated, it's like the glue to hold everything together. So get the you know, things straightened out, so there's no bubbles or wrinkles. And once you got that set, You put down your very thin now piece of napkin because you've taken the 3 parts, taken the other pieces off. And then most importantly, you need to cover it with parchment paper or, something like, I'm trying to remember the name of this stuff, but it's stuff that will protect anything beneath it with a hot iron. But I believe parchment paper will work too. This is what I've got. I didn't use parchment paper, but I've heard that works just fine too. So, and it looks like I'm doing this really fast, but I am just really holding it down there and making sure that everything's adhered. And once things are, you've gotten through and heated it all up, you can see how easy it peels away because everything's kind of melted right on there. And I was able to pull most of the bigger pieces away. And then there was quite a bit that needed to be trimmed. And so what I ended up doing is I flipped it over and I used an X-Acto knife. I needed a sharper one. And so it kind of ripped a little bit in the front. But nothing that, with this paper, nothing that was so evident that it ruined it because it's dark anyway. Things are kind of dark. And so here I am trying to pull things apart, and you can see where it might pull a little bit more on the front side than you really want. And then after I pulled out the big pieces, I just took some sanding paper and I got in there, and the sanding did a really nice job. And if you had like one of those little sanding things that for your nails, you could get in the little crevices easier. And so just take your time, work at it. There was a lot of spots I had to get in there. And I just can't believe how nice it laid. It was just flat. It was almost like something you'd purchase, professionally made or, from a store, like a factory made one. It just was like, wow, this is a cool technique. Just taking more of that antique wax and brushing most of it off, and I am just putting some on there just because, there were some of those spots that, the tissue paper head came up, and it just added a little more color. And then finally I did put some Mod Podge and allowed that to dry just to make sure things stayed down. But boy, I tell you, that was kind of cool how things laid so flat. And I will be doing this technique again because it is great. Okay, and then I just had another little piece of scrap board, and I put the antique wax on there, allowed that to dry, and on the bottom the E6000 in certain spots, and then the hot glue to make it have a quicker hold. But this I needed to weight down, and I had one of those. It's kept in the freezer, it's homemade, and it's filled with corn, and then so I just kind of weighted it down with that, and then it was fine. It's set up just fine. So there it is. And I thought I should add a little something, but you know what? It doesn't need anything. And I'm going to sell this, and obviously if somebody wanted to add, they could, but it would make a nice little addition to whatever you had. DIY number 3. These are 2 little $1 pumpkins from Dollar Tree. I'm just taking out the little stem, and then I'm making a hole, and I'm going to do the same on the bottom, and that's because I want to wrap these. And when I first started, I had the idea of wrapping with some leftover scraps. This is from a tablecloth that I trimmed away because it was longer than I needed, and just ripping them instead of trying to trim them down. And so I made these 11-inch strips. Now in hindsight, you could make them even a little shorter because I ended up trimming them down more. And at this point, I am just looking to see if I can get by with not painting the pumpkin, and I opted to paint it because I didn't want the orange to show through any of that white. And I believe that's the Waverly Steel. The other pumpkin, I'm just showing you really quick. This was some pretty colored rope. It did not work. It just the way it laid down, I ended up tearing it all off, and I decided to do burlap instead. And I just went for it. I thought maybe I should paint it dark, but I wasn't in the mood at this point. And so I just started putting it down. And then I had to trim away as needed. And I did start out with a circular shape and just gathered and tucked and then added glue and trimmed as I went. And it just, it turned out fine. Just do your best on trying to keep things gathered up. And then this ribbon I got from Dollar Tree, I'm in love with it. I think that orange is just gorgeous. I wish they had it in a larger size. But I just in love with it. It made such a nice little accent for this burlap. And these are just flower pieces. I tend to keep that stuff just because I can do things like this whenever, I need some flowers. And the Dollar Tree also sells those little bags of little wood pieces. Grabbed one of those. And then this little red and little pips, I want to call them. My sister was moving and she was just going to throw stuff away, and I grabbed it. And I'm glad I did because it does add a few little extra prettiness. I think those were kind of crafty things that were popular maybe in the 80s and 90s. But boy, I'm liking them. If I see those again, I'm picking them up. And then just trying to make, the little squiggly, roundy little pieces that'll come off of a pumpkin. And then there's always that little bit of glue that's showing. So then I did end up putting on some of the Spanish moss. And just going through and showing you, I, ended up wrapping this around the entire pumpkin, and it was fun. Just go, and, just see where you need to add more fabric or a strip here. I'm using this top as a plug for the bottom. And then just took a scrap piece and covered that up. And you'll never know it was there. And again, just adding, the pretties on the top. I decided to take some of that burlap. I trimmed off the other pumpkin and make some leaves. So I want to thank you for stopping in. I hope you enjoy my videos. I am having so much fun with this YouTube channel. It is just so me. I just didn't realize how much fun I'd have with this, and sharing with others on, what I see in my brain. I can put it out, and people have been so kind and giving me good comments and suggestions, and it's just been really nice. We've got such a nice little crafting community, and thank you for stopping in. I surely do appreciate it. I do hope it inspires you to get out your stuff and craft as well, because this isn't hard, and it's just so much fun, and you can it's a stress reliever, and when you're done, you have something you can either give or display, and it just, crafting is a great thing. So here is our pretty little pumpkins. I was so proud of them. They turned out so cute. Well, you guys have a great day. It's Labor Day today, so you take care. And I will see you the next time. Bye-bye.